What's up, my dudes? Get it out the mud, bro. Coming through the bushes. So this is the track review of the Perry's Forest SX, and check out that view, dude. Got us a grade A Oppo whip jump right here too. So I really like how he's managed to mix both of these biomes right here. Somehow he's managed to blend a standard woodland with a kind of tropical vibe biome, and I have no idea how he did that, because those are two completely different biomes that you just wouldn't think would be able to mix at all. But this Perry dude's always got his tropical vibes popping off, and I've always said from day one, the most important part to your off track is your skybox and your water, and I have absolutely no idea why that is, but I'm telling you, just picture this track without the water and without the skybox. It would be just another standard basic woodland track, just like every other MX Simulator track, and you just wouldn't think two so simple things like that would be that important. But of all of my time of making custom tracks, I would say those are two of the most important things that will separate your custom track. So all of his other off-track stuff, like his trees and his different logs in random areas and his grass billboards and stuff, all of that just fills every part of the off-track in, and it makes it a fully rounded off-track in that sense, whereas a lot of off-tracks on MX Simulator just do not get that for some reason. And even my Lunar Oasis track, you know, the off track on that did not have hardly anything on it. It was just decals and a couple little kind of hills in the background, and had maybe a couple of little grass billboards. But other than that, that was pretty much it. And I was going for a really basic dunesy kind of look, because if I added rocks and stuff, then it would have a different kind of feel to it. But I think it just all depends on what you're actually going for. Like if you have a desert dune kind of track, then you want to have it a little more basic off track. But for the most part, if you're making any sort of woodland style track with trees, or kind of like a tropical track, you really need to kind of focus on actually having a good skybox, good water, some sort of trees in a kind of cool random placement, some other little thing like logs or rocks off the track, and then have your billboards off of the track. That's kind of the 5 or 6 main things you got to make sure you have on your off track, or something will look basic, and then it'll completely take you out of that realism feel on the track. So, but yeah, dude, I mean, really fun style of a track right here. I will say the traction I wasn't the biggest fan of that, and that is a super personal thing. I mean, you may absolutely love this traction right here. I have no idea. There's so many different kind of tractions in this game, and some people love certain tractions, and I hate certain tractions. You know, it's just there's so many different styles of tractions out there, and that was something I had learned pretty recently, is that every track maker in this game kind of has their own style, and it's pretty cool because like your different J Perry dudes and everybody, they just all check this backflip out right here. Pretty sure I skimmed the top of my head on that one, bro. But yeah, all of your different sort of track makers, they have their own unique style in the way they build it, and it's very similar to like real life riders and just MX Simulator rider styles on the bikes and stuff. You know how everybody has sort of a slightly different look in the way that they ride and everything? Well, that's the exact same difference in the track makers in MX Simulator. Whenever I hop on a Perry track, I know it's a Perry track. Whenever I hop on a JGMX track, I know it's a JGMX track. So it's just crazy how like all of their tracks sort of have their own little twist to it with the way that it's kind of built, you know? It's insane how that happens in this game, where you just have so many variations because there's no real limit to how you can make the jumps and how you can make the different decals and how you know, the placement of everything. It's unlimited pretty much. So but just the on track is definitely similar to a lot of the other Perry tracks out there. Pretty rounded off, smooth berms, the traction has a very high friction feeling, so it almost kind of feels like you're playing reflex in a sense, and that's kind of why I'm not the biggest fan of the higher friction tracks in this game, just because they bog the bike down and you lose power, and it's a bizarre feeling to me. But like I'm saying, that's all a personal thing. You may hop on here and love it because of that exact reason, that there's a little bit less power on the bike and you can kind of control it a little bit better. But for me, it's just I like tractions that don't have quite as much friction on them, because personally, I think it takes a little bit more skill to corner in something that doesn't have as much friction, because it's like a little bit looser of a dirt. This kind of dirt right here almost feels like a very deep tilled up mud or a super deep sand or something like that. Like if you come up short on anything or over jump anything by a little bit, it's going to be really hard to jump the next jump, because if you lose any momentum, it's very hard to gain it in a high friction traction scenario like this. So but still fun nonetheless. I've definitely seen worse tractions, and it's like I'm saying, it's really, I'm not even really saying this traction is bad. I'm just saying it's not my personal favorite kind of traction. That's all I'm saying. But his ground decals, you can see right here, he's got the dozer marks on the side. I love when people add little touches like that. It's all about the little things. You can see the logs on the off track. I'm telling you, I don't know why that is. It's just the most simple, silly things in a custom track that makes them well-rounded, that makes it like a fully completed custom track. It's the little things, dude, and it'll make you scratch your head sometimes when you think, oh, I could have just put a couple of rocks over here or just put a couple of logs over here, and it would have made it feel 10 times more complete of a track. It's just like people just seem to fall a little bit short on most of their off-track designs and stuff. But like right here, you can see how he's got his grass billboards and some of the more bare, basic-looking areas, and that's how he keeps that realism feel. But right here, oh my God, dude, one of the sickest sections I think I've ever seen on a track in MX Simulator. Just so much fun, man. Like throwing an Oppo whip out into the ocean, that is like Spencer Turley heaven, dog. I don't know how you can make anything better for me personally, but yeah, it's awesome, man, how he's mixed these two biomes right here. Love it. But on-track decal, solid. On-track jumps, like I was saying, they're a little bit more of your chill, smooth, basic, but there are quite a few rhythms on this track as well. So, you know, you'll first hop on here and go, I don't really know what's up with this track, because it's very different from, you know, your standard RF AMA Supercross style tracks. Very, very custom, very, as far as the filling of the dirt and the jump peaks and stuff like that, everything's very, very different feeling. So, but like there's still rhythms, even though it's a super easy design, everything's pretty smooth. It's still, you got enough rhythms where it keeps you on your toes, and you kind of have to make sure you're hucking this right, and then you're hucking that right, and then you're hitting this corner right. So it definitely still has a somewhat of a difficulty level in that sense. But yeah, man, just a chill, fun track. I can definitely tell it's not trying to be anything too crazy serious or anything like that. Just a solid built track all the way around. But now, don't get me wrong, this traction and these smoothed off jumps may not be your style, especially if you're really used to, like I'm saying, some of those newer RF Supercross tracks and stuff. You may absolutely hate this track, and that's just a personal thing. You know, it's a very different design in that kind of way, where it's in your whoops, it's the same kind of difference. I'm not the biggest fan of these style of whoops. They're super rounded off, super smooth off. I don't know, personally, it's not my favorite. I like more of a peaked style of a whoop, more of a difficult style of a whoop, where you can actually really get on top of them properly, and it actually takes some skill to stay on top of them. But I think the traction is what can hurt a lot of tracks out there for me personally, whereas, like, you know, it may not even necessarily be the jumps so much. Like, let's just say you put a totally different traction on this track, then the jumps may feel 10 times better just because of the traction. I think a lot of people take the traction for granted, how important it really is on a track, because you can have the best built jumps in the world, but if your traction sucks, then your track sucks. And that's the only way to explain it, you know? And I'm not saying, don't get my words twisted, I'm not saying this traction sucks. It's just personally not my favorite. That's all I'm trying to get across to you guys. But it's still decent, still rideable. I've seen way worse tractions than this right here. But and that's what you got to respect, man. And that's with a lot of things in life, I think, is you just got to realize just because you have an opinion on something does not mean everybody else is going to have the same opinion, and that's completely okay. You know, with the berms and stuff, I don't know what the hell RF's been doing with all these smoothed off berms and shit, but I'm not a big fan of it whatsoever. And this track kind of has that same bit of a vibe going on, but a beginner may love that. You just never know. And some people may think, hey man, these smooth berms take way more skill to hit. I don't know what you're talking about. But me personally, I think a deeper style of a berm, a more pitched berm, takes more skill because you can rail it harder. It's just that simple. Like, I like to actually hit a corner a lot harder than you can hit these corners right here. They're just smooth, very, very smooth, rolled off, but it fits the whole style of the track. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you're not going to hit a jump and think, what the hell is this jump doing on this track? Like, everything fits its own style. It's all got its one type of style, and that's another important thing to always keep in mind when you're building custom tracks is try to keep it all the same style and design on that particular track. You can always change it up on a different track, but you know, you don't want to throw in a 300-foot super peak jump and then have a 3-foot rolled off double over here. Like, that just doesn't match up very well, unless you're making like a super bizarre design track or whatever. I've made some of those. But yeah, so anyways, I'm giving this track a 9 overall. Love the design, bro. Thought it was cool. I've never thought of a biome quite like this. Sick, awesome. Can't say enough about that side of it. Scenery 10 out of 10, but just track fell a little bit short for me personally. So that's why I'm giving it a 9 out of 10, but some people may love this track. But I would say the difficulty is medium, and just letting you guys know, I'm going to have 2 custom tracks coming out really soon. I'm going to make a time-lapse video of one of them. It's going to be a lot more simple, similar styles to this, where the jumps are a little smaller, a little bit more for a beginner, intermediate style rider. I know some of you guys were looking for that, so I will be making that very soon. Sometimes it's hard for a pro rider to make an easier track because what's easy to me is hard to you. You see what I'm saying? So, and I'm not meaning that in a cocky way. I'm just meaning that in like a legitimate, like, a lot of times when I make, you know, Marsh SX2 or whatever, that is like a fairly normal style, size, scale of a track to me. But for some people, like beginner riders, it's too humongous. It's just crazy, overscaled, and I totally understand that. Your skill level can make a big difference on how jumps and everything feels in this game. So I'm definitely going to try to go in there, make some more toned down tracks, and also have a really cool, unique idea for a track that I've had for a long time that nobody's ever made before, and I'll be spitting that little puppy out pretty soon. Super unique design of a track, but so definitely be looking out for that. But anyways, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.